Here we go. We are back for another Abs Brunch, your Sunday rendezvous with the hockey coach, your coach Frenchie, and the co-host, Marko LARABIE. Welcome back, Mr. Marko, on the Sunday morning. How are you doing today?
Very good, coach. A little sick this week, but I took myself off IR and ready to go.
Hopefully you feel better in speed recovery, Mr. Marko. Talking about speed recovery, we want to take a couple of minutes here talking about the people who really have a really difficult time the couple of days, well, yesterday, whatever it is. Newfoundland and all the Maritime fans, hockey. I know maybe you can tell a little bit more about the situation over there.
Yeah, definitely want to give our our thoughts to everybody in the Maritimes with Hurricane Fiona. A lot of them are going to be without power until Tuesday, so tough times. We're thinking about you. We know there's a lot of fans in the Maritimes for the Canadians that might be watching this, so we're thinking about you, and hopefully everything turns around soon.
You're
And
absolutely
all
right.
the
And
best.
then for all my peers in Florida, I know another hurricane's coming on the Tampa Bay area. We know I have a lot of fans at the Hockey National Show in Florida, where I was before. And I just want to be sure everybody will be safe. It's coming next couple of days. We know I've been to over 12 hurricanes, and it's not the best time of
Wow.
your life to be that part. Like you said, missing power weeks and weeks. So, we wish the best for everybody. Be safe, everyone. So, but Marco, we have a lot of things today on the subject of the As Brunch. Let's starting with the first one. Let talking about the main cam. Honestly, hockey is back. And can't wait to to watch all the Montreal Canadiens the upcoming season. But now they are the main camp. We're going to talk about this. 74 player was invited. We'll talk a little bit more about this. And then we have a the second subject is going to be the blue line battle. This I know you're going to be really active about that subject because you want to tell us a bit more what's going on over there. Then finally at the end we have the preview week number 2. Honestly, Montreal is going to have a couple of games on the exhibition game, and that's what we're going to talk today on the Abs Branch. Anything you want to tell before we move on?
No, I think lots of really, really good stories to cover this week and so much fun stuff. But I think more than anything is just the level of play, like just the quality of hockey that we saw was amazing. It's a real testament to the level of quality of the prospects that Montreal now has in the system. I don't recall being this entertained by a lot of those scrimmage games, so I'm really anxious to see what our panelists thought. I'm sure all Habs fans are just watching really closely this week and really excited to see a lot of what the following years are going to bring.
I
It's going to
think
be
it's
awesome.
called excitement. I think we are all excited
Yes,
as a as fan. By the way, if you're the locker room, Martin Saint Louis, he will look at you and said, "No, Marco, it's not system, it's concept." And we talk about
concepts.
concept with Martin Saint Louis. That's about this, and we made a saying. By the way, Marco, after 2 weeks, we already. Over the budget because we say, you know what, we can draw more money. We invite more people in the show and going to have a new contributor with us this morning. We'll talk about him the next couple of minutes. So let's move on to the next thing is a warm-up introduction of the abs branch. Here we go. Yes, you see very well. We're not three, but we are four because today we welcome a new contributor of the Hockey National Show, Nick LARIVIERE. Welcome and the family, and thanks to be with us this morning. Tell us a bit more about you, Nick, if you have a chance.
Okay, so well, I'm currently a writer for the Stick Media podcast. I'm sure some of you are aware of that.
Of course.
I've written for multiple platforms like A Winning Habit, Last Word on Sports. I also briefly wrote um for a company called Hockey Rumors, where I was writing rumors about sports, about hockey and football.
So
I
you're the guy starting all the rumors, eh? You're starting all those rumors and
No. Well, yeah, like I would actually write about the rumors that were starting. I wasn't writing about the rumor to start the rumors. I was writing about them. Although
Right.
one rumor that did come true once, I'm gonna tell you a story about this. Was I was about 17 years old. I wrote that the Habs should sign Andre Stetson because like
Oh,
he was off a contract in the KHL, and I'm like they should sign him. A Russian website turned that around and made it saying that he's rumored to come to Montreal.
wow.
I was it was my claim to fame for a little bit.
Wow. Well, it's
Awesome.
nice to get noticed by the Russians. Online especially, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
But welcome aboard, Nick. Great
Thank
having
you.
you. And of course, Karen, she's back. Karen, how was your week? I know you're really busy with many things. You multitask and tell us what it was your week, sir.
It was a good week, quite busy at work, but I did take Tuesday off to go and see the last day of rookie camp. Got a chance to see Slavkovsky and Zor come along to the training facility together as always, like Batman and Robin, as Whiteman said. And yeah, it was fun to see the veterans on the ice as well. Even though official camp had started, they looked like they were having a blast and so happy to be back. So yeah, I think we'll have a lot of fun watching them this year.
That's awesome. So thanks for joining us today. Of course, our co-host Marco. He's ready to rock and roll. And let's start in, Marco, talking about the first subject. Of course, talking about the main camp. 74 players was invited by Martin St. Louis, the staff and management. And then the first day was the testing on the ice. So let's start in with Karine. Tell us a bit more. What do you think about so many players? And of course, the testing skill from learning from Tortorella.
Well, obviously, when I saw the roster, I was thinking, "Oh my God, that is so many players. What are they going to do with that?" But then I listened to Saint Louis' interview, and what he said actually, he's got a point. Essentially, he said, I want to give as many guys as possible the opportunity to come to camp and to be with the NHLers and compare themselves, because you never know which player thinks, "Oh, I'm not going to make it," but then he comes to camp, compares himself to the pro, and he's like, "Well, I'm not that far off from being NHL level, so I should carry on." And just thinking of Saint Louis' background, it's easy to see where he's coming from, and I think that's a good approach, especially for a rebuilding club who's got a lot of things to decide, a lot of orientations to choose. I think it's a good formula, and having 4 teams to play and to do scrimmages is quite useful. Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
Uh, yeah, like it's definitely very useful to do all these, to bring all these players because like it will give you like a view of different players and different guys that can maybe make the NHL. Like look at guys like Michael Pezzetta last year. There's always guys that will impress at camp, and you just never know what could happen. And that's what's good about bringing so many guys, because there's going to be some guys that maybe you wouldn't think have ever had a chance to make the NHL might actually get a look and might get like an AHL contract and move their way up. Another guy like that is Arbor Jacki, which we'll for sure talk a little bit more about him later in the show. But yeah, like it's really good to send all these guys. It
Awesome,
should be
Nick.
interesting to see.
Marco, just
It's
finishing. I want you to a little bit more about the testing on ice. What do you think about that day where a lot of players was a little bit tired at the end?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to see the reaction of some of the players. It's every player's least favorite day of the whole year. It wasn't as bad. I don't know if anybody saw the pictures on Twitter from the Flyers camp. There's this great picture of a Flyers player literally like dead on the ice, laying in front of John Tortorella, just completely dead. So luckily we didn't have any mortalities after the bag skates. The players that I noticed that struggled probably the most, my favorite guy, Mike Hoffman, definitely struggling towards the end of those drills. But overall, it's part of. I think what Martin Saint Louis, I think the great perspective that he brought on it was even more than just kind of the physical grind of doing the exercise. It's really the mental battle getting players ready to face mental challenges of actually finishing a very tough drill like that, right? So you can see Martin Saint-Louis talks about this all the time, right? Like hockey is 70% in your head, 30% physical. And so you can see those things already at play in terms of how Saint Louis is setting up the camp. So it's a natural part of camp to make people go through that process. I think the funny thing, Coach, is last week our question of the week was how many players will be from the rookie camp will be invited to the main camp. So I think the better question would have been which players won't be invited to rookie
That's
camp
pretty
is
much
pretty
yeah.
much
That's
all of
right.
them done. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
right away at the beginning of the first day, the Montreal announced that they have some kind of injury. 5 players was already on the injury camp, and maybe Kevin can do a bit more, tell us a bit more about all the injury we got at the beginning. So maybe tell us a little bit what you think about, maybe Zuski, Edmondson, and we have Anderson, and now Monahan. I know the next one was like Jake Haven, but he came back the next day. But what do you think about all the injuries at the beginning of the camp?
Well, to be honest, I was a bit surprised because I did see Nick Suzuki on the ice on the Tuesday and he looked fine. But I've heard since then that, a source said that if there was a regular season game tonight, he'd be playing. So, it's nothing overly serious. Josh Anderson is day to day. That's not really surprising either. I mean, he does have a tendency to be on the injured list. I'm a bit concerned about Edmondson though, because the blue line's already supposed to be very young this year. If you take Edmondson out of the equation as well, then it gets even younger. So yeah, that could be a big issue. As for Monahan, I've heard that he'll be playing in some preseason games as well. So it's not no panic there. I think they're just being cautious with him, taking their time. And yeah, as you said, there was Jake Evans as well, but he was back the very next day on the ice. So I'm not pushing the panic button just yet. No.
And
So
we know already
can,
Paul Biron is not in the already there. We know Logan Mayu is another one, and of course Carey Price. So Montreal, that is not the right foot. Hopefully it would be better. But like you said, the biggest concern is honestly Joel Edmondson and Nick. If ever Joel Edmondson is not there, what do you think would affect the Montreal Canadiens?
it'll definitely affect like the leadership group and even just like the defense as a whole. This guy is really important. We saw last year when he was out how hard it was for Jeff Petrie, and it seems like it could be the same thing. But this team now is going to be a lot younger on defense, so he'll just only be more important. And yeah, like but it will give a guy like a Arbor Jack guy or maybe even Jordan Harris a shot to make that team. Although it, I would look at it maybe a guy like Arbor Jacka could make the team in his spot because he is that kind of like big defenseman.
Awesome, Nick. Marco, we have 2 days of scrimmage, 9 o'clock a.m. And of course 1 o'clock p.m. Both days. And I think I have some players that really did very well overall. And we're going to talk a little bit more about them. And maybe not your top best. You little bit what kind of player really stand out for you at the beginning of the 2 days on the ice for the Montreal Canadiens as a forward, by the way.
Yeah. Well, like I said off the top, like it was actually, I can't really think of anybody who had bad, kind of a scrimmage game. So kind of to my original point in the opening, just really impressed overall with the overall level of play in both the games. But again, Slavkovsky, just seeing how he, again, with some of the feedback that we heard after the rookie games, I think he had 2 really really solid games where he incrementally kind of seemed to be more and more comfortable with what was going on. I think that whole line of it's a nice combo. It was nice that they kind of kept him with Beck to kind of keep that consistency going into the rookie camp, and then really smart kind of from a chemistry perspective to put like a hardworking guy like Harvey Pinard on that line. So that definitely stood out to me. Lots of interesting things though. I think the forward group, it's just so hard to kind of predict how things are going to go. But I think we're all focused on the D's. But yeah, like at forward, Slavkovsky was really solid. Mashar again, really looking good. I like that they played him at center for the 2 games. We all kind of thought of him more as a winger in the draft, but it's clear that they're really trying to put him in that, give him that exposure as a center. So to me, those are the 2 standouts.
Okay.
Karine, what were your thoughts?
Well, I agree with Slavkovsky, obviously, and I think, as you said, it was a genius move to put him with Raphael Harvey-Pinard as well, because if he does end up in Laval, there'll be some pre-established chemistry there, so that'd be great. I would add Emil Anneman to that list as well. I think he's done a lot of good things on the ice, and he doesn't miss a chance to showcase that wicked shot of his. And I'm surprised, really. I was expecting him to go back to Europe, but with what he's showing so far, I'm thinking that Kent Hughes might, try and force the issue to keep him in Laval and at least have him on hand if injuries strike this year, which they always do. Let's face it. So yeah, wouldn't mind seeing Heineman staying on this side of the ocean, to be honest.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I actually agree about Heineman. It would be kind of good. It would be kind of like really good for him to actually get more exposure in North America. Like I think that he has a great shot. He can skate pretty good. Like he would be a very good addition to Laval this season. And who knows, maybe he does get called up. But I'm actually impressed with how Caulfield has come into camp this year. I know he's one of the best players on the team, but like the way his shots are, it's just incredible. Like he looks like he's in mid-season form. I
Yeah,
haven't seen much from the veterans. Like Marco, you were mentioning like Mike Hoffman. Like he hasn't been great to start camp, but like
no,
Cole Caulfield is one of the ones that will be making the team no matter what. That has actually like really been impressive so far.
there's a really nice little interview with Cole Caulfield, coach, where they were asking him about his approach for camp, and one of the interviewers was saying, "Hey, well, it must be a bit different this year now that you're not fighting for a spot, or you're an established player." And I really liked his answer because he was like, "I that's not my mindset at all. Like, I'm not coming into this thinking that I'm an established player. I know that I have to kind of come in and fight for a spot, right?" So I like that mindset from him, that it's not just a fait accompli that he's going to make the team. So you can see he came into the camp with the right mindset as well.
Awesome,
Yeah,
Marco.
and
Go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
Um, just gonna say, I had something on that. Kent Hughes actually spoke to his players and told them that Joe Sakic used to say
Hmm.
something. He said, "I spent the first half of my career trying to establish myself in the NHL, and I spent the second half trying to stay in the NHL." So
Yeah,
if Joe
so
Sakic
brilliant.
got that mindset, who can come to camp and say, "Yeah, I've got things wrapped up"? No one.
You're
No,
For
absolutely
sure.
right about that, for sure.
I remember, if I can go, I remember a time was, I think it was like back in like 2006. Maxime Lapierre thought he had his spot like locked. He came to camp and he was just like kind of like loafing a little bit, and he was surprised when he got sent back down to the AHL. It's a while back, but I remember this as a kid. Like he was just like thinking like he was better than everyone because he had made the team the year
Yeah,
before.
it happens a
So
lot. Like I've heard Benoit Brunet say that in the past too. We come into camp not exactly in shape. Like it's
Like
surprisingly, I guess it's psychologically, it's you think you've made it, and but yeah, Nick, you're absolutely right. It's something that happens pretty often.
two players I want to talk about. Kirby Dak, all the tools except one face off. But what do you think about his performance of Kirby Dak, Karen, for the first 2 days?
I've been impressed. I've been impressed in the scrimmages, to be honest, and he was also impressive on Tuesday when I saw the veterans all skate together in Brossard. I've heard that one of his issues in Chicago was that he wasn't taking things seriously enough, and even though that was just an informal practice, he was taking it seriously and he was really giving his all. So yeah, I've been impressed with Doc. Obviously, the face-off that's a bit of an issue. There's already been face-offs that he hasn't taken this during the scrimmages where Pitlick took them instead of him. So that's an issue, but that's something he can improve on. He's got a lot of other skills, and he's an impressive player. Yeah.
So Nick, I want to talk about maybe you find out we have a new the superheroes now in the team. I did not know until Whiteman expresses about Batman and Robin now, And what do you think about that superheroes we have and with the Montreal Canadiens now?
They're looking great. Like Slavkovsky has really shown that he looks to be like more of a power forward playmaker. I think when we drafted him, I was thinking that he'd be more of a goal scorer, but just the way that he just the vision, and I saw this at the rookie camp too. A lot of people were hard on him at the rookie camp. I felt like, yeah, he wasn't getting points, but he was forechecking well. He was doing a lot of good stuff, good small stuff, and it's not all about the points in the rookie camp. There's a lot of guys who really achieve at the rookie camp that just don't do so well in main camp and maybe never make the NHL.
Awesome.
Uh,
Go ahead.
but now from Machar, he might be the most surprising. Like he literally like surprised so many people. Like he's really good. He could be a serious steal. He can score. He has good vision. He plays great both ends of the ice. He just does everything well.
Awesome.
He's
Marco,
sneaky, very sneaky.
um,
Exactly.
Marco, I want to add this for you. Brendan Gallagher, I think he showed up with in shape. He showed it already at the beginning of the camp. What do you think about his performance the first 2 days?
Well, I think all of us are rooting for Gallagher. Like, who doesn't love Gallagher, right? And it was tough to kind of see him go through what he did last year. So the first couple days here, man, we're seeing 28-year-old kind of Gallagher. His explosiveness, kind of surprised me when I saw some of the rushes that he kind of took part of. So really, really excited for him and that bionic body of his. I don't know how many metal body parts he has in there other than his hands. I don't know what they put in his hip, but keep adding that technology to his body because it looks like it's definitely helping rejuvenate him because so far he looks very explosive. So looking for a nice bounce back from him for sure.
Do you have any question you want to ask Marco to Karen and Nick before I move on to the next subject? Or
Well, just a quick follow up on Doc. So, we talked about his maybe one of the elements missing was his face-offs, but what did you guys think overall of his? Like, I think we could all see he's a prototypical center in the sense where when he comes into the zone, he can slow down the play, move laterally, slow things down, find guys that are coming late, stuff like that. What did you guys think of his? Like, I think he was well positioned, like pinching, covering for defensemen that were pinching, but the one thing that I noticed was his battles, 50-50 battles with other players. What did you guys see from Doc in terms of his competitiveness, winning battles along the board, stuff like that? Kevin.
Well, to be honest, I think we'll be best able to judge on that where he actually plays against other teams because, in scrimmages, you don't go all in type of thing. But for a guy his size, I expect him to be, stronger in order to move off the puck, to be honest. So I'll refrain from passing judgment just yet on that. But one thing we should say though, the lineup for today has just come out, and there'll be
Ooh.
no Slavkovsky, no Caulfield, and no Suzuki at the Bell Center today. We knew for Suzuki, but no Caulfield and no Slav.
Look at Nick's face.
Really?
Yeah,
Nick looks like a.
I'm
That's awesome.
surprised. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so
you
am
think
I.
that,
Martin
especially
said we said the player
Slavkovsky.
does not show today, not play. They play Monday against the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's still, that game is kind of a crowd pleaser. You expect
Yeah.
people to see the players they want to see. Having Suzuki injured, you're like, okay, well, at least we've got Caulfield. No, you don't. Well, we've got Safkovsky. No, you don't. Okay.
No, you don't.
No, no, but yeah, no.
Yikes.
Slavkovsky is probably the biggest surprise. Like Caulfield, like maybe because his main line mate's not there. It's possible, but Slavkovsky, everyone's gonna want to see him today. Like everyone would have wanted to see him today, I'm sure. And it's just crazy to think like they're not gonna play him. Is Machar
Yeah, but
gonna be there? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
you have
Machar
to
is.
think, guys. Like,
Machar, yeah.
you have to think, guys, that this guy, if they really think that he could potentially play an 82 game season, and if that's kind of what their wish is, he's not used to playing that many games, right? So I think it's probably smart to kind of ease him in. I know it sucks initially here. All the fans we just want to see him more and more and more, and we can't get enough of the kid. But I think it's smart. I know it's probably not the popular thing, but I think it's a smart move.
Yeah, I think I will
What?
add something here. Maybe you did not touch it. I think, if you want to have Safkowski, you want to use him again, or opponent team in NHL to see what he look like at only a white and red game where you don't have that, no contact, anything like that. So I think if you want to evaluate the right player to look like for upcoming season, you better to use them again a team in NHL. That would be my only
Yeah, against New Jersey. Yeah.
explanation I can see about him. But another subject we want to talk about today is the battle of the blue line. We know with you guys, you talk about the injury of Joel Edmondson. Now they open, I believe, for me a spot. At least they pick up a right defenseman somehow, somewhere on the waiver or a trade before the season start. Otherwise, possibility we have three rookies. But Karen, what do you think about now this possibly have a battle at the blue line?
I think that three players have got the inside tracks right now. That's Jakai, Jordan Harris, and of course Caden Goulet, who I think has made it. We've seen that pairing with David Savard, and they work really well together. So I expect that, Caden Goulet's got it in the bag right now. And I think Jakai and Harris as well. And what's even more impressive with those two is that they're both so young and they're working insanely well as a pairing. They change position effortlessly. They cover each other really well. So I can see those three guys actually making it, and it's a shame for Baron, but he seems like he's been playing it safe, kind of not putting it all on the line like the others. So you get what you work for, really. So that's my take on the blue line for now, anyway.
But Karen, you've been to the game, right? Did you watch both scrimmage or only one scrimmage?
Well, I watched them all online. Yeah.
Okay. Just I thought you okay. So it makes sense to me. Do you believe like one particular defenseman stand out for you?
Um, the three I mentioned, I've got them like pretty much all at the same level. I really like Harris though. His mobility, he's smart on the puck, he chooses his spot, he knows when to shoot and when to, join the attack. He takes good decisions. I really like Harris. Yeah.
Good. Nick, what do you think about the battle of the line? Is it exactly what Karen thinking?
Well, I think what she said, she really liked Harris. I think Harris has actually been a step above everyone else. I think you could say there's an inside track, but like I think reality is maybe Jakai and Guli are number like 2 and 3, but even Barron has been decent. It's just he's maybe playing it a bit safe. And if the Habs do choose to want to go maybe with a traditional right-handed player instead of Harris, it's possible. But with the way Harris is playing, it looks like Harris will have the battle over Barron. I think reality is that the real battle is actually between Guli and Jakai and Harris and Barron because Harris can play on the right side. So that's why I think they're going to be they're looking at it from that perspective in some way. And I was mentioning like Jakai over for Edmonton just because he's like a stay-at-home defenseman. Like he really could make the team, even though it might not be the best, given that he has no professional uh, experience. While Gouli doesn't have it, Gouli is still a top prospect, and he looked pretty ready for the NHL last year, even when he was in the WHL. So it should be a very interesting battle. But yeah, I think Harris has the inside track right now.
What about you, Marco?
Well, we've been talking about this last couple of weeks. Like we've reached that Game of Thrones peak battle time, right? Like where we have these players that are going to be battling it out. The way that I see it, you know, you've already got five guys. To me, there's already five guys that are locked in, if you include Edmondson. So I've got Matheson, Savard, Edmondson, Gouli, and Weidman that I think are locks to make the team. So that leaves Barron, Harris, Jakai, Schoenemann, Bowie, Norlinder, and Leskinen for those spots, right? So to me, let's say Edmondson doesn't start, then to me that's fine. Like that means that Harris can come in and Jakai can come in, no problem. So to me, really, the real battle is between Harris and Barron. One thing that we can't forget, guys, is Barron is younger than Harris, right? Like it seems like Harris hasn't been around that long, but he's got those years of college under him. So Barron might have a little bit more professional experience, but Harris is older. So the whole concept of Barron being more NHL ready than Harris, I'm not sure I buy that. I think Harris is actually a little bit more mature mentally and in his style of play than Barron. So to me,
Uh,
really, you have six guys that are battling for one spot because I don't see any way where Goulet is not there most of the year, if not the whole year. So really, you have these six guys are really battling for two spots because I think the seventh defenseman, I think it's a no brainer or makes a lot of sense for Schoenemann to be that guy because they don't care about his development that much. You know, like they don't mind if he sits out a bunch of games. You don't want to do that with Jack Eye or one of your top prospects, right? So to me, Schoenemann is probably a lock for seventh unless there's injuries and he needs to come up. So really, there's only one spot and I'm trying to do this in a way that is completely unbiased because I think we all love Jack Eye and we all want to see him play. So I'm trying to take the emotion and kind of the fandom out of it. I'm just trying to look at it very logically. So
yeah,
really, I think it's Barron, Jack Eye. Those two guys are fighting for that last spot.
Yeah, I still believe Jack Guy should not be part of the Montreal Canadiens right now. Too many missing tools right now to play in the NHL. For the benefit of him, it would be better if they talk about development all summer to sell to the fans. It would be better for him to go to the Laval Rocket, go play 20, 24 minutes, and go get better and go learning what it takes to become a professional hockey player, everything like that. And that's, I believe, would be the best fit for him. And the Montreal can call him up. I think he's going to be a carousel all summer, all winter for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think because Justin Barron is a right defenseman, you need a right defenseman. So he's already locked out for me because he's a right defenseman. You have nobody else. So you're
Okay,
not going
Harris
to,
Harris is playing right
but
though. They have Harris.
you're not going to develop Jordan Harris, 45 game play left defenseman, and play in the NHL on the left defenseman. If you want to develop players, put it on the right share and not try to satisfy the team, but try to develop the player properly to become better. If you use him on the left defenseman with Schoenemann, Harbor, everybody, it's like Mezar. Is it a winger or a center? What is going to develop the best for him is the same way for everybody. You have to put them on the right chair, the right spot, and develop them properly. We have no
Yeah,
rush here. We're still 2 years before we become a better team. It's all about development for me. If I was them, go get back over there the way I set up this way, and to be sure the player stay up. And the Montreal Canadiens, they need to play over 15 minutes per game minimum and to develop them. They need reps. And Schoenemann, if you need him and case, put him back or maybe a game back to back. It will be hard for the young guests. Now you bring him back. But for me, Schoenemann, 30 game, 35 game would be the best one, like you said, number 7. So that would be my thinking about the defenseman. I just want to share with you what it's all about the leadership, the veterans, and David Savard understood what it takes to helping Kaden Coley, and he did it. Coley said during his interview after the first game or second game.
Yeah, no, he's always been a guy in the room that's kind of, always took his time to come on the ice with me. And I think it was probably I was here for a couple weeks and I was just going on the ice by myself. And he decided to come out with me, so I didn't have to go on the ice by myself and do drills by myself. So he's always been there for me and kind of took me under his wing a little bit. So he's an awesome guy and awesome guy to play with.
So for me, that show exactly. You don't need to have a letter on your jersey to become a leader. And Savard just show exactly what he does with Kaden Coley. We need those kind of leadership inside that team because we are young with Nick Ziski, everybody else. So before we move on to the next subject, maybe you have another thought about if you're listening, everybody around the table here. So maybe Karen or Nick or Marco, you have anything you want to add about the battle of the line, the defenseman?
yeah.
Well, I
Actually,
don't. You go, Nick.
okay. I was gonna say, so Coach, when you were mentioning like Jordan Harris, like developing in the right spot, I do think though that they're trying to develop him as a right D because he has played it a lot, and that's the one thing that I think they want him to be a right D because it's so scarce with it in the organization. There's only, like you said,
Mayu,
Barron,
Mayu,
Wide,
Mayu. Yeah,
Mayu. Yeah, Mayu. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know if he'll ever play, but
Karen?
I'm with you, Nick. I agree.
Yeah, well, I was pretty much going to say what Nick just said because Aris has spent the last 2 years in the NCAA playing on the right side, so that's his spot, that's the right spot. I don't think that being a lefty puts him at a disadvantage over Barron. And I think we also need to remember that Chris Weidman, even though he was signed again, he's been signed as a depth defenseman. He's on pretty much league minimum, so I see him skipping some nights as well, to be honest. And I think that
Some nights, yeah.
whether or not you think that development should or shouldn't be done in the NHL, I think the Canadiens have no choice but to do some development in the NHL this year. So yeah, I think there will be a lot of rotation and there'll be kids in the lineup every night, and I like that.
My last
Awesome.
point, one last one, coach. So just for the record, so I think you can develop Barron in the NHL. I just don't want it to be on the top two pairs, right? I think that would be bad for his development because you're putting him in really dangerous positions. So if they can play him on the bottom pair and hide him a little bit, then I think that can work. But I think with Harris, you could potentially have him on the top pair, maybe playing with Edmonston on the right and get a little bit more out of him. And I'm a little less concerned about that hindering his development.
Awesome. Let's move on for the next subject of the day. It's about the remember me. The point is this: like they need to leave a great impression because we know they are stuck on the forward. Like Karen said last week, we have no spot honestly. So I put 4 names over there, and one of them Karen mentioned about Eneman. Honestly, we have Pinard. We have Elenan, we have Eneman, and finally we have Ian Mizak. You can add more, honestly, and that remember me. But they are the one, most of them going to be in the American Hockey League or back in Europe, honestly, for Eneman. Karen, what do you think for them? What is the next step you believe? Do you see them to come back and maybe play game this year?
I think Hervé Pinard has got the inside track there. He's a useful player. He gives it all the time, so he's been good. Ilonen in the last game as well was quite, good good player, both sides of the ice. So yeah, I think he's good. But Mysak hasn't really impressed me in those scrimmage games. I was hoping to see more of him. So yeah, I don't think that he'll turn out to be a very impactful player in the NHL, to be honest. But time will tell. I may be wrong.
Nick?
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to say was I think that out of these names, there's one guy that for sure doesn't have a chance to make it at all and probably won't play at all this year in Montreal, and it is Mysak because he just doesn't have the experience at the pro level, and you could see and he doesn't have the skill that maybe the others have. But I've talked to people who watch a lot of OHL, and they say sometimes he gets lazy, and that's some of the issues. Like that needs to be fixed in Laval. But what is good is that let's say Harvey Pinar and Slavkovskis are also in the AHL this year to start the year. I think he could be the center that could help complete the chemistry there. Just because we know Beck will be going back to the OHL. As for who I think would have the actual inside track of making the team, I do think that Jesse Olinen there's nothing left for him in the AHL. I think he needs to be in the NHL. The guy has been he was played around with last year, and there's one reason for that. Joel Armey is still on this roster.
Yes,
Without
100%.
If Joel Armey was never signed, he would have made the NHL last year straight out of camp. And
For sure.
it baffles me why Bergevin made that signing out of panic. He just signed him out of panic because he didn't want to lose all his UFAs. That's how I felt. But
So
Ulinen
smart.
needed to
This
be.
Nick guy is really smart. Nick is a smart man. He knows what he's talking about. Totally agree.
Anything, and Marco, we want to add over what the
Yeah, so I agree with both Kevin and Nick here. Like Mishak, I don't think really belongs in this group. I do think he has some potential, but I think he needs a little bit more seasoning for sure. Um, I think RHP had an interesting comment in an interview at post game after the game yesterday, and they asked him kind of, well, if you, it's clear that it's going to be tough for you to get a spot. Do you think there is any value for you going back to the AHL? And again, very mature response. He's like, yeah, there are still things for me to improve on, like my finishing. There was lots of times last year where I was inconsistent in Laval, so I think there are still things for me to improve. So I love that answer. Like just shows how much kind of how mature this kid is, and so I agree with him though. Like I think more than Ylonen, I feel Ylonen is just a smidge more ready, than him, but they're very close. To me, Heineman, like I was leaving him for Kagan at the beginning of the show because I know we've been chatting about him a lot. Like he's really impressed me in this camp, and yeah, I wonder if they're going to have to kind of force something to make a move because I don't think they want him to go back to Europe. I think they really would like him to play in North America, but they have that agreement where he would go back to Europe if he doesn't make the NHL team. So it's a tough, like that's what they always say, right? Like if you want to make your spot, force their hand. I think out of anyone, he's the one that's doing that. So it's not just leaving his calling card; he's kicking the door down, or very close to doing so.
So it was a little bit what I want to try to ask again to Karen because she really talked about him at the beginning and what you feeling what because you follow Montreal, you write a lot about them. What is feeling about Heineman? What he will be the best, or what you feel what you should do, or what the Montreal should do for him?
Well, I mean, personally, I think he needs to stay over in North America. He needs to get used to the North American game because he's got such a good skill set. But if he goes back to Europe, that's kind of hindering his development in my book. Especially since teams in Europe have a tendency to, once they know that players going to move over to North America the year after, they tend to not play them as well, as much. I mean, so why would you want to do that? But then, there's a team that's got his rights, and if they won't budge and they won't let him, play in the AHL, there's nothing you can do really. But I think for the player, for the good of the player and the good of the Montreal Canadiens, it'd be much better if he was over on this side of the pond. But I'm just not sure if that's going to be feasible. It's a shame really because he's done a lot and
More than
more than
enough.
enough to make the list.
You're
So yeah.
absolutely right about this. It will be interesting to follow this situation about him. Talking about Junior, some of you talk about those players earlier. There are four players, I believe, they go to return in the OHL. Maybe one of them possible, maybe American Canadian, but look like they maybe said he said after the game, I need to be more stronger and grow my physicality and muscle mass. Is that Mazar? He realized what he needs to be sure he'll be back in NHL possible in the next 2 years. But you have other player. I think Owen Beck show exactly what he looked like. He's going to play for Mississauga Steelhead. Then we have William Trudeau. Return possible with the Islanders, possibly be traded at the Armada at some point during Christmas. We'll see if Quebec can pick him up, of course. And they are the player right there. The next one is Joshua Roy returning with the Phoenix. Sherbrooke, the Phoenix. So maybe Karen, tell us a bit more. What do you think about the four players? What's the best for them?
Well, I think it's a shame that we haven't seen a lot of Joshua Roy yet, but he got an injury playing in a preseason game with in the juniors, broke his little finger. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I really like what I've seen of Beck so far, not only in the prospect tournament but in the scrimmages as well. The guy is
Ooh, yeah,
a really good
so
center.
good.
He's got a lot of skills, and he's only gonna get better in time. So I'm glad about that. As for Mazar, as saying he needs to get stronger, and a year in the OHL probably wouldn't hurt. I don't know if he's realized that or he's been told that's what's going to happen. I'm not sure he's liking it, but I can see why the organization would want him to be in the OHL. He's not exactly, he doesn't have an NHL body yet. He's not as strong as say a guy like Slavkovsky. He doesn't have enough muscle. So yeah, and as for Trudeau, I can't say that I've looked at him a lot, so I'll let the others cover Trudeau.
All right, Nick.
Yeah, so I'll just go into Trudeau. Like I saw what he did in the rookie tournament. He looked really good in the rookie tournament, moving around with the puck. Like he surprised me with just how mobile he is, and like maybe that he has potential to one day be a depth defenseman in the NHL level. But I don't see him being like ever becoming like a regular with the Montreal Canadiens, just with the whole logjam at defense. But like he looks like he could have a good year over in Charlottetown, and we'll see what happens with him. As for Machar, it's definitely a good idea to have him go to the OHL. It will help him develop the North American game, also build some muscle mass, and let him dominate. He could dominate there. We all know that was going to completely destroy the Q again this year because he's done it last year. He knows what to do, and that should be a fun year to watch him play.
Marco.
Yeah, not much to add to that, Coach. Just one thing I'd point out about Beck is let's not even forget he's 18, but he's a young 18 as well, right? So it's just even more context to show how incredible he's performed, right? Like he's really young, really young, and he shouldn't be this good, to be honest. So very impressive by him. It would be great. You could see how excited he was when the reporters were asking him if he thought he might get a game, like an actual exhibition game, and you could see his eyes light up. And just that's probably the funnest part of this year, right? Is seeing these kids kind of live out their dreams. It's kind of like it's an extension of the draft. Like that's the funnest part of the draft too. But now you get to see these players like being surrounded by like you could see all the mics come into his face. He's like, whoa, holy cow, this is a lot. But I think he handled it really well. Just really excited about Owen Beck. But yeah, all these guys are going to be fun to watch in junior. Just more hockey for us to watch, and more reasons for my wife to get mad at me because I'm watching way too much hockey.
Karine, what do you think about what do you feel like for Mezar? Do you feel like he will be better playing in American Hockey League or returning in OHL?
Um, well, I think the OHL might be the way to go for one reason only. There's just too many bodies in the AHL. I don't want him to be stuck behind, veterans who are going to have more ice time than him. He's going to get more ice time if you send him in the OHL. He's going to be the guy they rely on. So I think it'll be better for him to, go down a level, dominate it, and then next year make the jump in the AHL. That's my feeling about it.
I agree with you, and he would be, of course, at the World Junior Championship at the Christmas time, and then I believe he would be traded at that time. One of the best team in the OHL can pick him up and go maybe at the Memorial Cup. So maybe you're absolutely right about this, Karine. The next one we talk about the youngest. Well, not talking about the oldest, maybe not the oldest, but 4 players right now. They play for Sven circumstance for the upcoming season with Sven Gold. I know I put Biron there because he's going to be, end of his contract with Drouin and Dadonov. It's those names we did not hear a lot. And I put Hoffman over there. And, I could add other players like maybe Armia and Devorak over there, but they still have more contracts. So what do you think their situation, or what do you think about their performance so far since the beginning of the main camp, Karine?
To be honest, I've been pleasantly surprised by the Dadonov. I think there's a fit there with him, Dvorak, and Gallagher. They've been aligned, and it's been clicking. As for Jonathan Drouin, is on line with Armia and Evans, and I think veteran lines-wise, that's the only one that hasn't yet clicked for me. I don't see much there. But I want Drouin to do good. I want him to have a good season. I want him to be tradable, in other words. So yeah, I hope he can turn things around and stay healthy. As for Hoffman, well, I've never been a big fan of that signing. That looked like panic signing to me. And at Bergevin, been able to see things for what they really were, he wouldn't have made that signing. A bit like, re-upping Armia, same deal. And as for Byron, well, they took away he's not part of the leadership group anymore. I think he's going to be out the door sooner rather than later. It's a shame because he's a nice guy. He's a useful guy. But once you want to develop your young players, you need to make room one way or another. So, yeah.
Yeah, so right. Nick?
It's funny that you're mentioning that about Byron, because I think it's possible if a team has injuries, because Byron's going to be out for a little bit, as we know. Um, when he does come back, I think they may have to force him on waivers, and maybe a team claims him for the rest of the season. That's what I could see happening with Byron. Now, Dadonov is probably definitely the most impressive of the bunch. Like, he will definitely be able to net you something at the deadline this year, whether it's with Dvorak and Gallagher, or Doc and Gallagher, or even Suzuki and Caulfield, because I can see that working for some reason. Uh, he looks like he will be able to produce, and he'll just continue scoring. As for Hoffman, yeah, it was a pure panic move. It's just not working out at all. This may be the worst contract, one of the worst contracts on the team. Not the worst contract. I still do not like the Armia contract. Like, it seems to have been such a waste, and that's what I'm going to say about that. And we'll see with Drouin. Is he going to be able to perform? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? That's another thing too with Drouin. Like, he's always getting hurt, but from what I saw, yeah, Dadonov is really the only veteran that really stood out from that group, in my opinion.
Awesome. Marco?
Yeah, I think looking at this image here, to me, Dadonov is the blue chip kind of asset out of all these, right? Like, and I think he's a lock. Like, again, all these to me, other like, so I would add instead of Byron, I would put Armia and even Pitlick and Pizzetta in this kind of bubble group of forwards that, you know, are they going to make the team or are they not going to make the team? To me, Dadonov is a lock to make the team. I think they view him as one of the strongest assets that they want to showcase in order to be able to flip him. Now, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are not talking about is, okay, you have potentially like, 3 players, 4 players, if you include Monahan as well, that you want to showcase and flip at some point. Okay, that's nice. It's nice to think that, but where are you going to play them? You can't play them all. That's unless you're not going to play Slavkovsky, or if you're not going to play somebody like Doc or somebody like that. Like, there's only so many spots, right? So I think the biggest problem here too is with this logjam with forwards. Not only are we going to not be able to showcase ones, or we're not going to be able to properly give development time to the players that we want to give time to, and then another aspect is that we have first dibs on waiver wire. So we're completely against the cap. So let's say there's a really nice asset that comes down the waiver wire. Hughes has no ability to pick them up because we're just too tight. So to me, there's just too many reasons, for them to move somebody now. Like, Gordon was, I think, interviewed and said, "Listen, like, we're going to need to get creative, or I'm prepared to get creative." But there's a bit of a contradiction there because Hughes has said that he won't include an asset to move a negative asset either, right? So something's going to give at some point, guys. Like, they have to move one of these guys. There's no question about it. The easiest one to move is probably an RFA like Dadonov, but I think it's smarter for them to hold on to him because I think his value is going to increase because I think he can really have a good impact on the team. But how are you going to move Julien right now, or how are you going to move Hoffman or Armia? It's tough, but they got to make some room because there's just too many negative consequences to them not doing it. Even some people might say, "Oh, okay, well, Marco, there's going to be injuries," and yes, but even with a couple of injuries, we haven't even talked about like the players that were going to Laval, like Yolanen and Harvey Pinard and Pizzetta and players like that. Like, I think we have enough depth, way too much depth, to the point where it's a problem. So it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Thank you. I would just said I would not pick anybody on the waiver list. We have we have everything right now. I don't see why we focusing what we have. Why to bring another one? Like, we
A
have.
defenseman, maybe like a right-hand defenseman.
But
A good one
what
that
you
you
do
want.
now? You send back Aris. You send back everybody down. That's what my point here. Like, what we develop. That's you're going to bring a veteran, 33 years old, 34.
No, no, no,
For, you're not
no,
going to
no.
get a
But that
22 years old in the waiver list, Marco. You're going to get a player with his number 7, 6, 7, 8. What it will bring
I don't
more
know.
what we have.
You never know. There's going to be sometimes, especially at this time of the year, teams try to sneak players down, right? So you're right. The likelihood of a younger or mid-age kind of D prospect that we would want to pick up is not high. But again, it's having that flexibility. You never know. There's teams that are stuck against the cap, right? So if something happens, you don't want to be caught with your pants down. I agree.
We,
Like you're not going to pick up you're not going to pick up Tyson Berry or something like that. That's fine.
of
But I
course.
don't know.
So going to finish, we are almost at the end. We want to talk about a little bit more what's coming for this week. So we know they have already 4 games they're going to play. They play Monday against the Devils, and then Ottawa, Toronto, and the rest of the week. But maybe tell us a bit what you're looking for this week. Each one of you tell us a bit what is you're really focusing more for the Montreal Canadiens. Karine?
Well, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing Slavkovsky's debut. With the fact that he's not there today, it means he's going to play tomorrow against the Devils. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do. And, maybe he's going to be on the line with Caulfield as well, who's not playing today. So that'll be interesting. And then on Wednesday, they've got Toronto. And on Thursday, they've got Winnipeg. And I'll be at the Bell Center on Thursday for that game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Nick?
Yeah, so like Karen said, I'm definitely looking forward to watching Slavkovsky play up against NHL players on other teams, because while he's done well in the scrimmages on in training camp, it's just against your own team, so it doesn't say everything. So I would like to see it, how he forechecks, how his vision looks against teams like the Devils or the Jets. Just see, because he's going to be playing up against some NHL players. I also like to see what Machar can do in like a preseason game if he does get to play one. Like I want to see these young kids get to play in the preseason, and of course we all know about the defensive battle. We'll see what happens with that.
You're absolutely right. Marco?
Yeah, we'll be following all these battles that we've already talked about. I think the cool thing is trying to find clues, right? Like sleuthing, like looking at line combinations. What does it mean? Would they put this guy with that guy? Does that mean something? Trying to interpret all the language that we hear from St. Louis, and it's going to be a lot of debates on Twitter as we kind of look at the different lineups. It's going to be so fun, guys. HABS Twitter is going to be on fire. Just a lot of fun to kind of watch these games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll be looking out for that. Last thing is, why do we play Ottawa a million times? I think I'm going to be so sick of playing those guys. But yeah, is it just because like most of the games in Montreal? I didn't. Can you flash that back up, Coach? Like, are they all in Montreal,
No,
or some of them are in
they
Ottawa?
play under 1 at home and 2 at home. 2 at home, 1 on the road over there. Right,
Are they
3 at home and
no,
1
no,
on the road.
no,
No,
but the thing is,
3 on the road and 1 at home. Sorry about that.
Okay.
yeah, because
Yeah.
each team is playing 1 at home, but they're playing 1 game. They're playing 2 games in the Maritimes.
Yeah, for
Oh,
Kraftback.
I wonder if that's going to be an issue now, though. Yikes.
Yeah, that might need to change. They might just give us 2 games at home, 2 games away. We'll see.
So, Karine,
But
when you going there at the game?
I'm going on Thursday against the Jets.
And I want to share it with all the Hockey Nation Live show. We always remember the first time we go at the Bell Center. I've been to the Forum, honestly, my first game, but, it is what it is. I'm not going to go deep. Karine, a bit more.
Yeah, we're going to the red versus white scrimmage today, and that's going to be Jaden, who's on the screen right now. That's going to be his first game. He was hoping to get a stick from Cole Caulfield, but I think that's not going to happen now that Caulfield is not in the lineup. But hopefully someone else notices the song and say, oh, he's worked hard. Well, I've worked hard, let's face it. He deserves one. But we'll see. I did that mainly because the first game my dad took me to was the Colisée de Québec to see the Nordics, because my dad was a Nordics fan. And Peter Stastny gave me a puck. And that was a big moment for me. I became a hockey fan right there and then, even though I didn't like the Nordics. I was just like, wow, hockey players are cool. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I was 5.
Nice.
That's awesome. For sure. with first time you get a puck, you get anything, you always remember those
Oh yeah.
souvenirs forever. So it would be really interesting. We wish the best for him to enjoy it. You never know. Possible someone walk around and Cole Caulfield shop behind, say, "Hey, you want my stick? Here we go."
Maybe we'll have the sign out.
That'd be great. Talk about this week. Yeah, I know it's a main camp, but if you want to, Karine, because you experience about this, what do you expect? And I'm put you on the hot seat right now. The first cut of the week.
Oh, I'm expecting some cuts
Ooh.
today. To be honest, I'm expecting some to happen today. The players that are not gonna make it, I can see them getting cut today. I think these the AHL players that are gonna be playing today have been given kind of a candy thing to play the red and white games at the Bell Center, but I don't see them, sticking around like Gignac, Martel, Teasdale, Stevens. I can see
Dubé.
going
Dubé.
quite
Parker
maybe
Jones.
yeah, names like that. I mean, I can understand Marty wanting to give as many people a chance as possible, but let's get down to business here. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right about this one over there for sure. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And before we move on to the next week, we know we're going to be back next Sunday. But Mr. Marko, I think it's time to talk about what?
The contest, the Frenchie contest.
The Frenchie contest. Every week we have gave away something. This week, the question was which rookie player will be invited to the HABS main camp. Honestly, we maybe Martin St. Louis surprised us a little bit, Mr. Marko. Maybe he watched us the show. He said, you know what, I'm going to get complicate our situation. But the winner, guys, is Kerry Willett. I can go with
awesome.
many people, but Kerry, Mr. Marko, gave us a lot of comments every
So
single
many
day.
comments. Yeah.
Well done. And we gave away, of course, another week of the Elite Prospect Fantasy Guide for your fantasy hockey. And we want to thank the Elite Prospect to give that opportunity for the Hockey National show. So great gift for the Mr. Kerry Willett. If you are watching or listening, please don't forget to reach me by email and I will provide you the guide for you. Finally, for this week, Mr. Marko, we have a new question. And for the same another week of the fantasy Elite Prospect, which player has the most point this week? And now, hopefully, they can play. Honestly, that we're helping. The game today does not count, so it's only the NHL games on the week. So start Monday.
The exhibition, like the actual exhibition games.
Yeah.
Right?
So all the exhibition being a game, so start like Monday in Toronto, all the way like that. So I just want to share this with you, and we'll see. We wish good luck for everybody. We're going to give you, of course, the winner next week. And complete the show. We go around the table. And at the end of the show, just tell us, like, I know we talk about what you're looking for, but any something specific more, Karine, you really, really pay attention this week?
Slavkovsky's debut in NHL games, that's what's going to have my attention. That's what I want to know. Is he going to be in Montreal? Is he going to be in Laval? That's my main point of focus now.
What's your feeling? If you have to predict the future,
I would say he's going to start in Montreal. I don't know if he's going to stay there all year, but he's going to start in Montreal, I think. But ask me again on Sunday once we've seen him play against an NHL competition, please.
That's awesome. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely wanting to see just how good Gouli can be against NHL competition, because I think this guy can make the NHL no problem, but is he going to be able to actually be as good as he looks right now? Maybe
Marko?
not, but...
Sorry about that, Nick. I thought you were finished.
No, yeah, but yeah. So, but he looks like he could be the next Shea Weber. And that's why I think he was drafted, was to take Shea Weber's spot. We'll just see just how good he will be.
Marko?
Well, so quick thing, our quiz question for this week is who will have the most points this week in the exhibition games? Just a quick note, the leading scorer of the NHL exhibition season as we speak right now, Holt from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kind of weird. But hopefully that doesn't last very long. But what I'll be looking out for this week, everything we talked about during the show. But again, I'm looking for a move here from Kent Hughes. Something's got to happen with this congestion of forward group. So that's what I'm looking for. The main course is obviously the exhibition games, but I'm scouring Twitter, looking at every little rumor, coming every night at 9 p.m. on HNL tonight to kind of talk about it and see kind of if there's going to be a move here to make some room. That's what I'll be watching out for.
Awesome. Karine stole my player again, but it's all right. I will look about, for me, is honestly, is Justin Barron is the one really I want to see what he will do again NHL team. And then Arbor is another one. Like you said, Marko, maybe there are two players maybe can out of the lineup this well or not start in Montreal. I think everybody know Gaydon Cooley, and Karine said that. I think the perfect player fit and the concept of Martin St. Louis is really Jordan Harris. He fixed all the box, what he's looking for Martin St. Louis, the transition, the skating, everything like that, smart vision, passing. And only thing he maybe not can play is on the power play, unfortunately. But otherwise, we have not a great shot. Otherwise, I think he's the right player for the Montreal Canadiens for the upcoming season. This complete, guys, another great HABS BRUNCH number 3, Mr. Marko. And we thank both of you, Nick. And of course, before we leave, we're going to ask both of you how the best way to reach by social media. Nick.
Yeah, so it's my Twitter, Nick L2500.
Perfect. And Karine, of course, Hockey Buzz, but your
and I'm easy to find on Twitter or Facebook. It's at KARINE. I always go by my name. No one's called KARINE aside from me, so that's great.
See, I have everything here. That's easy. And Nick, I apologize. I did it, but I did not put on the show tonight today. So I apologize for that one there. Don't go nowhere. We're going to conclude the show with an throw, but stay with me until we become play. So we thank each one of you. Mr. Marko, we wish you a speed recovery. We need your voice. We need you to feel better. And for the people at the Maritime and the Florida, we wish the best. We're going to pray for you guys. So we wish, can wait to see you until next week. Marko, we want to finish this. Last word.
Last word, yeah, absolutely. All the best to people in the Maritimes. Have a great week, Habs fans. It's going to be a lot of fun this week. Find us on Twitter every night, 9 p.m. HNL tonight. We're there for you.
Thank you so much, everybody. And of course, remember, you have greatness inside of you. Have an amazing, great week, sir.